So it's a cold December morning at the KCOM Stadium, the home of Hull City, as we approach the midpoint of the Premier League season. Currently the Tigers are sat bottom of the table. 21 teams have been relegated from that point in Premier League history. But can Hull City change things? We caught up with fans, commentators and journalists to see what they've made of the season so far and to see what Hull City could do in 2017. So we approached the Christmas break, Hull City bottom of the Premier League table, whilst recently performances have been encouraging. What have you guys made of the start of the season for the Tigers this year?
Well, it was wonderful, wasn't it? It started fantastically. It was that, can you call it a Dunkirk spirit or something, where you probably didn't have enough players, fit players, because of circumstances of injuries and what have you, but it was an amazing start. Not gone quite so well since.
It's always a difficult thing, isn't it, trying to engender a team spirit when you're losing games on a regular basis, and that's the difficulty.
Performances have improved, but equally the results haven't come. Is that a concern?
2 or 3 wins and you're back up there in safety, aren't you, or relative safety. So whilst it's not a great position to be in, clearly, it is resolvable.
When you're losing week in, week out, it's difficult to see where the next result's going to come, and particularly when you've got games against Manchester City and Everton coming up, suddenly it becomes difficult, doesn't it? Yeah,
but it's always the way, isn't it? You look at the West Ham game and look at the chances that we had hitting the post. They weren't very good on the day, perhaps you could argue, but we didn't quite take our chances, but actually played quite well. But when you're down there and it's not going for you, it's not going for you.
Or what can Mike Phelan do as manager to try and change that look, to try and bring that?
Well, he's got to keep the group together, which I think he is doing, to be fair. He's got to keep the group together and keep the belief going and keep that mentality in-house that they can do it and that they are good enough.
Yeah, I mean, when you get injuries and suspensions, it's punishing, isn't it, when you've got a relatively small sort of first team squad to work with, and that's the problem at the moment, that they haven't got too many options.
Goals has potentially been the issue this year. Is that the area Hull City need to strengthen?
It is for any team, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, Steve Bruce always said, and most managers will tell you, that if you haven't got a goal scorer, a consistent goal scorer, then you've got a problem.
Yeah, and of course in January everybody's going to be looking to recruit. Everybody at the bottom end of the league is going to be looking to recruit to try and save their season.
In Mike Phelan, you've got a very experienced coach and now manager who's got a lot of contacts in the game. So I'm sure he will have 5 or 6, perhaps more, targets lined up already.
Is there an argument to suggest that you bring some youthful exuberance in from other clubs, but perhaps they don't have the guile and experience to dig you out of the Premier League hole? Do you need to go find some elder statesmen that have perhaps been there before and seen it done?
Ideally you'd do both, wouldn't you? I mean, I'm not being flippant when I say that, but ideally you would do both.
Yeah, that's right. There's a balance, as Alex rightly says. There's a balance, isn't there? You don't want to put too much responsibility on a young player.
How far should they push it? How much money should they be spending? Because it's very easy all of a sudden to go throw cash away, isn't it?
It is, and I don't think necessarily throwing lots of money at it is the answer. I think it's just finding the right kind of player, really, not necessarily finding a player who's the most expensive.
So you don't think we should try and get Bullard out of retirement then? Is that an option? Do you remember when we all put money into a bucket and what have you and ended up with Linton Brown? What happened there?
Linton aside, what position and which player would you go out in January, if you could, realistically, sign for Hull City?
We talked earlier, didn't we? You could do with an Ian Ashby. You could do with that strong leader.
I think the full-back position's probably as well, particularly right-back. I think, Elmo's doing a manful job at right-back, but I mean, he's not a natural full-back. Probably on the left side as well, they're a little bit short on the left-hand side. We've seen that when Andy Robertson was injured.
Can Hull City get out of the hole? We've seen them have some miraculous ends to the season in the past.
I think it's certainly possible. You look at, in recent seasons, you look at what Sunderland did, you look at what Leicester did only a couple of years ago. You hope that they're going to be capable of doing that. I think it's a big ask as we sit here right at this moment in time, but it's not beyond the bounds of possibility.
If the answer to that question is anything other than yes, we can, we may as well go home now.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we can. It's going to be very difficult. Is it guaranteed? No, of course it's not. But yes, we can do that. We can do it. We all hope we do. Yeah. We can do.
Need to get behind them, really. I know there's been a lot of negativity, but
our defence needs to improve massively.
I think we need somebody who can control the midfield.
So, Catherine, superfan, member of the supporters club, how have you seen the season so far from a true fan's perspective?
Great start, Leicester game. What a game, really. Just unbelievable. And I thought, I know we've got the thinnest, barest of squads, But if we can play like that, I'm really full of hope for the rest of the season. All the fans want to see is a team that puts their all in. And the last few games, I think we probably have.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can turn a corner.
In terms of performances on the field,
Yeah.
fans don't seem too despondent.
I don't think, because we don't have expectations that mean we're going to be at the top of the league. I think it's great. I just, whatever. They're my team.
But equally, you're now craving staying there. So
I am, but I aren't. I kind of, it's a real strange one, isn't it? I love to see the big teams come here and be able to go and see some of the different grounds as well. But equally, I like us to win. Yeah. And I think everybody's like, there's people who sit near me in the stands and they're like, oh, if we just went back down to the Championship, we'd be winning more games. And it's a lot better feeling than going home more frustrated that either they haven't played well enough or they've played well and it's just not gone our way. So
how do you take that step? How do they go from playing well and narrowly missing out to now pushing on for the rest of the season?
Lady Luck has got to shine, I think. And then as soon as that does, I think maybe it's a turning point. Who knows what's going to happen on Boxing Day against Man City? We just need to get some goals.
Do you think goals has been the issue, and how would you solve that?
Oh, we absolutely need striking force, don't we? We're going to need to bring somebody in. Who that is, I don't know. What we need is someone like, and I don't mean we need this person, but we need someone like the Fraser Campbell that came in to support Dino when we got promoted the first time.
It will be a big January with the transfer window.
Massive.
Do they need to go out and spend a lot of money?
I think we have to spend some money, but let's spend it wisely.
What does it mean to you and everybody else you sit with to watch Premier League football?
I remember when we got to Wembley the first time, I took my dad actually, because he's been a Hull City fan all his life. He'd never been to the new Wembley, and he was just, it was the day after his birthday, that playoff final. He couldn't speak. He was just, I never thought I'd get to Wembley. I never thought I'd see City at Wembley. So it's just amazing, really.
I like Huddleston in the middle, I like Mailer playing, I like Livermore because as a threesome they're very good.
I think we ought to get off defence and go on to attack.
Somebody like Defoe would be lovely if you can get out of the gem in Defoe.
Defoe would do it.
Midpoint of the season then for Hull City, it's been a difficult first few months. Started so well, such a wonderful spirit despite all the pressure coming off pre-season. Is that the kind of team they need to try and build now, that work ethic, that team spirit to dig them out of this hole?
I don't think they've lost the way. I just think they caught a few people by surprise at the start of the season. They managed to build on what they had in pre-season, and it took them so far, and that's as far as it can take them. I think when it comes down to it, they're not losing games for a lack of team spirit or a lack of a work ethic. We've seen that in the last few games. They're just losing games because they can't put the ball in the back of the net. It's as simple as that. I mean, I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah, definitely. I think the start of the season was fantastic, really. Almost like us against the world kind of mentality, which I think maybe they've lost a little bit of that. There's definitely a lack of confidence in front of goal. Created a lot of chances the last couple of games, but just not finding the net, and that's the be-all and end-all, really.
Do you feel Hull City are creating enough chances and it's a case of just not finding the net, or is there lack of spark there?
I don't think they were creating enough chances when the formation was like it was before. I think Mike Phelan's finally lost his kind of cautious edge to himself and he's kind of just said, look, we're going to go out this way, let's just all throw all the punches we can do. And I think that's a great attitude now. I think that's kind of been brushed off on the players. The players are kind of taking that into the last couple of games.
They need to find a settled side, especially up front, and probably go with two as well. We've seen Snodgrass playing off. You can come up with all these different terminologies of a false number 10 or off the striker, next to striker. The point is they need two men up front that can, stick the ball in the back of the net.
Talk about the depth, that will be tested with players coming and going, injuries as well, new signings potentially in and out in January too. Mm-hmm. How do they keep that squad together?
I think Phelan's got to do all he can to make sure that nobody leaves the club because they've got to grow the squad. And it's not a big enough squad, is it?
Yeah, you think they've got the togetherness and the kind of belief, even with rumours about Snodgrass, you'd think that he wants to stay to the end of the season, at least see this through. That's the kind of mentality. It looks like they're still all together as a group and still all believe in one another, and they've got this kind of tight-knit unit. Even in the results that they have got, they've come back from behind to win the game that they have recently against Southampton. I mean, they've showed resilience there. So, yeah, I think they still keep it together as a unit.
I think what January shows us, as much as anything, is in terms of the club is are they really prepared to give it a go?
It needs to be a really astute transfer window.
It's whoever they bring in, especially looking at striker, it's got to be someone that can hit the ground running straight away. You haven't got time to bed somebody in. They need somebody who's proven in the Premier League that can put the ball in the back of net. How do you find them in January? It's not easy, certainly on the budgets that they'll be talking about.
Anywhere else in the side you feel needs strengthening?
I say defensive midfielder probably is an area of maybe concern. You need someone maybe can just kick a few people really towards the back end of the season.
So,
yeah, just like Joey Barton type figure. I'm not saying Joey Barton, don't worry everyone, but someone who's just got a little bit of bit of oomph, just to give someone a bit of X factor, just to scare a few people. So you need an Ashby type figure as well. Someone who kind of livens up the crowd. That type of guy.
Finally, history shows the side bottom at Christmas more often than not are the side that end up going down into the Championship. How do you feel Hull City will go in the second half of the season, and can they avoid the drop?
Can they? Yes. Will they? I don't want to be too negative because it's Christmas time, but it's going to be a real struggle to stay up. I think it really is.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're only 3 points off, and there's a lot of poor teams in the Premier League, and they could just be one of the poor teams that actually survives.
So a big challenge lies ahead for Hull City. Can they do it? We'll soon find out.